This program is brought to you by the Genesis Communications Network, a world leader in talk radio since 1998. Visit GCNlive.com today.
You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Now, those of you who were listening to after the Paracast or last week's episode of the Paracast will recall that we were going to talk to James Carrion, who wrote a book some time back called The Rosetta Deception, and was working on a Roswell deception, and he's talking about an Office of Strategic Deception that was in operation during World War II and thereafter, and obviously we know what that means just by the name. He first booked an appearance first part of September and notified me the day before and said, I can't make it, a family issue. Okay, we understand that. So I said, would the 15th of September for the recording session, and this is for an episode that will be aired 3 days later, the 18th, would that be good for you? And he said, I've got it on my calendar, no problem. So as I always do with these shows, I confirm or reconfirm with the guest a day or two before. Make sure everybody's ready, we're on the same page about time, and understand, of course, we have the Arizona time zone issue, where in the summer we're equivalent to Pacific time, in the winter we're Mountain time. In any case, I get a note from him yesterday in the afternoon. Can't make it, family issue. Well, okay, I understand that. We all have families and problems, and so, all right, that's it. Now, you really don't want to ask somebody, would you come on in 2-hour notice or 1 day notice? So it's us, me and Chris and Goggs Mackay. But, this happens occasionally. We'll forgive James one more time. Give him a third time. Then it's, of course, a strikeout.
Third time lucky.
Yeah, third time's a charm, whatever. Give him the third at-bat, and let's see what he does, and hopefully he'll come on. And as I said, I respect the fact that some people, things happen. In the meantime, if nothing happens next week, we'll have Kathleen Marden and Stanton Friedman, and they've got a new book that appears to me to be about focusing more on UFO secrecy and such than case histories.
So that's more like Richard Dolan's territory, really.
Well, the title of the book is Fact, Fiction, and Flying Saucers: The Truth Behind the Misinformation, Distortion, and Derision by Debunkers, Government Agencies, and Conspiracy Con Men. And I like the latter one. We all know about debunkers. These are people who will dismiss something at a moment's notice without evidence. We know about the government agencies. Conspiracy Con Men. Wonder who they're talking about. If you're looking at a conspiracy con man, Chris, or con women, to be politically correct, whom would you choose?
Alex Jones, maybe?
All right. Of course, most of our listeners who are familiar with GCN.
David Icke.
We mentioned Alex Jones. He is the main, most popular talk show host on GCN. He's the guy on the network.
Yeah. He's Mr. GCN. Well, probably David Icke would get, I think, my number one vote.
Stephen Bassett, for me, I think he is a plant, like a government plant, because I can't believe anyone who is as intelligent as Stephen and who does so much to organize conferences and hearings and trying to get the government to open up about UFOs, and then he kind of like shoots himself in the foot by tacking on, the worst of possible witnesses. And you would think even if he does believe those witnesses, he must be able to understand that if you go too far, like too soon, people who are not accepting of UFOs, they're not going to swallow the most extreme kind of stories straight away. You need to kind of just get your foot in the door by doing the first step. And you are totally shooting yourself in the foot by, having the former Canadian Defence Minister on, things like that. I just cannot believe that he couldn't be more selective about who he chooses as witnesses to go in front of congressional hearings or whatever.
Yeah, I'd probably add Linda Howe in there a little bit too. I think she's been caught with her skirt down a couple times promoting what turned out to be hoaxes. And then once the hoaxes exposed, still continuing to support it, promoting this ridiculous huge, giant, 2-mile triangular buried UFO. It was so big they couldn't take it away, so they buried it. That was totally debunked by Ron Regier, sent her a 20-page report on it. She went right ahead and presented total fabricated information at the first crash retrieval conference, and then had the gall to come back the next year and report a follow-up.
Let me just tell you, if you look up the comic book canon, it's Fort Roz. I won't say anything more. Fort Roz is supposedly a prison from Krypton that crashed on Earth. Forget about it. You don't know I know about that.
It kind of gets old, Gene.
Well, yeah, but it's as credible as anything else.
It's more credible than the people we're talking about.
What about Bill Moore?
Well, at least he fessed up and then got out. Another one, John Lear, has been at the onset and at the beginning of many huge memes that are at best questionable. The whole Lear hypothesis in '87 of the evil aliens and that whole thing is just really taken on a life of its own. And I must say though, I think people, by and large, the true believer crowd, they're more interested in positive spins on fantasy and delusion. So I think the evil alien meme is slowly being devoured by the benevolent space brother meme. I think people just by and large would rather delude themselves that the aliens that are coming and visiting our planet are benevolent and have our best interests at heart.
So they'd rather not have Deros and Tiros. They want Orthon, who was the name of the being that George Adamski met.
Right, or Semyasi. I mean, you could go through. Billy Meyer's another one. He's gotten away with incredible amounts of BS over 40 years, 50 years practically. So, yeah, there's a bunch, but why accentuate the negative? I'd much rather accentuate the positive and talk about, people that are actually pulling this morass of a field forward, kicking and screaming. There's not many, but they're out there, and I think they're worthy of discussion.
Well, Chris, any news on the SLV camera project? Any developments?
Yeah, we've got our first camera up. I'm trying to get the ISP provider who's offered to put up a transceiver on the house, trying to get him to call me back. He needs to send a guy out there and establish line of sight. We have to decide which tower he's going to shoot at, but until he sends somebody out there, I mean, I can't do anything. So I've got several calls into him. He's super busy this time of year, and of course my team is totally dogging me. They're, howling, the camera's up, let's get it online. And he's offered to actually provide a server in Denver to stream the camera images. So
does news of current sightings in the San Luis Valley, does that filter back to you still? Is it still an active place? Yeah,
the sightings never fully went away. I think they've ebbed and flowed normally. This time of year, spring and fall is when there's more reported activity.
Let's ebb and flow this announcement, and then we'll flow with some more news with Gene, Chris, and Goggs. You're in
Paracast.
The award-winning Graphic Converter 10, the universal genius for photo editing apps on your Mac. Join over 1.5 million loyal users for the Swiss Army Knife app. It gives you all the features that you expect, and most important, it's easy to use. You can get it for just $39.95 from www.lemkesoft.com. That's www.lemkesoft.com. Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
There is an affordable alternative to the high cost of healthcare that offers freedom from insurance while providing compliance with the Obamacare individual mandate. Imagine having access to quality, affordable healthcare that allows you the freedom to choose your doctor and hospital. Members can share up to 100% of necessary medical expenses, including some alternative treatments. Find out how you and your family can contain healthcare costs without giving up your freedom. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit portablesolarllc.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at portablesolarllc.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to portablesolarllc.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
We're doing a little shop talking. For those who are wondering how this ended up, well, we enjoy talking to each other. Seriously, we were going to have James Carey on to talk about the Office of Strategic Deception from World War II and the early days of the UFO era and how things might have been impacted. Unfortunately, he had a problem, so we're figuring out when to have him on. We've got so many guests we're working on for the next few weeks. We don't know when, but this is going to be the same situation that my wife had with a doctor, where we canceled a couple of times, and the doctor said, if you don't make it this time, number 3, try another doctor. So we'll give James another try, see what happens. In any case, you were starting to answer a question from Goggs about new developments, latest developments, current developments in the Mysterious Valley, if you're still in the loop, and you started the answer.
I did answer that, and then he asked me if what levels of activity are we seeing there. One of the things that really was the final motivator for Adrian to actually physically get the camera up and mounted on his house was he had woke up about 4 a.m. and was seeing these beautiful anomalous light display over Blanca Peak, which is just directly east of him. And he got his wife up, and they both watched it for a number of minutes, and he's just kicking himself, saying to his wife, God, if I'd had the camera up, we'd be able to have all this on capture all this on recording. And so that really was the final, I think, push. We've had quite a number of reports actually this summer. Actually, a notable summer. There's been, I think, a little bit more than normal activity. I think more people are out and looking about. I think more people are moving in there. The reputation of the place is, I think, growing there locally. It's interesting. A lot of the locals, they'll see stuff, and it's such a part of their everyday reality that it's not a big deal to them, so they don't make a big deal out of it. It's the new people moving in that see stuff that become jazzed and tend to be more vocal about experiences.
Any reports of giant black triangles, kind of like Phoenix Light style things? No,
there hasn't been any. We had there was one report of something really large blocking out the stars. It appeared to be more boomerang shaped. But again, it was very, very difficult for them to judge, how large it was, because it was not lit up. There's no way to really judge altitude. So
kind of sounds like one of the ones reported in the Hudson Valley flap.
Yeah, again, you get maybe 1 or 2 of these reports every summer from people out sky watching. Usually, a lot of them have been in August during the Perseids. Plus, a lot of this stuff I'm getting secondhand. I really haven't made much of an effort, because my 10 years of work and my database has been, it's just not. It's never referred to. My work has never really made much of a dent in the ufological glitterati. Every map I see of sightings doesn't have any of my data in it from the San Luis Valley. Every mention of UFO hotspots, with a few exceptions, totally forget to talk about the flap of the 90s and of the 60s in the valley, of the late 70s. The place gets no respect. So I'm not making a real concerted effort, and haven't had really made any concerted efforts to be as diligent about documenting things and following up and doing the phone calls and the type of potential legwork I could do when I go up there, because I don't think it's not worth it. I don't think my work has been taken as seriously as it deserves. I don't think the database that I have laboriously put together and had available for anyone who wants it for almost 20 years now.
Well, you never know if the SLV gets up and running and generates any great data, photos, whatever. You never know. Interest could pick up, and I think there are a lot of things in life where people do a great body of work. Hopefully not for you, but sometimes people's work isn't respected or highly regarded or even totally understood until years later, maybe even after their death and stuff. So, I mean, obviously that's no use to you. But, the fact that no one else has done it in that period to that degree there, and then you're doing this.
Anywhere.
Yeah, so
except maybe Ann Druffel in California in the LA Basin area, she probably has a larger database than I do. But again, she's another one that you rarely hear her name, you rarely hear about her work. A couple of her books maybe gets mentioned. And people like Stan Gordon. There's a number of us out. There's a list of people that have done really good quality work in their regions and have not attempted to promote themselves, have not attempted to promote their data, their work, have allowed the work to speak for itself. They don't get the recognition that they deserve. It's the people that go around blasting their own horns, touting their own personalities, creating cults of personality around themselves, pontificating about things that they don't have any evidence or data to back up. They're the ones that get all the notoriety. Have the big selling books, get the contracts with get their own TV show type deals. I'm not really into this subject for those reasons, and I don't think Stan and Ann and others are in the subject for self-aggrandizement or to become rich and famous. I think we're doing it because it's a passion. It's a step forward and trying to help pull our knowledge forward another inch or two, and it's without the lust of result. I could have made.
People here at the Paracast definitely appreciate what you've done. I do personally. And I suppose you could compare it to like the music industry. When you think of who really gets, front page on the newspapers or spoken about on the internet or on the news and who's in the charts, it does not reflect actually really all the quality music out there being made by bands that you never get to hear of because they don't have big record companies behind them or just,
right.
Idiots. And yeah, maybe the recognition factor is totally missing, but the work itself is totally worthy. It might not generate, an income or respect from the masses, but there are people out there like myself who totally respect.
I'm talking about respect from the field itself. Yeah, I'm not talking about respect from the masses. I'm talking about respect from the field itself. How come none of my Black Triangle sightings are in the Larry Hatch database or in the MUFON database or in the NIDS database? I sent all my information to these people, and a high percentage, I think 60% of my Black Triangle sightings were by law enforcement.
Let's discuss this further, guys, in our next segment. With Gene, Chris, and Goggs, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Are the answers to your present and future hidden in your past? Akashic readings help you learn to unlock the answers for love, finances, weight loss, self-esteem, confusion, grief and loss, and more. Akashic email readings by Dr. Kelly Maroon, PhD, are specially priced right now. Learn more at Dr. Kelly Maroon's website, akashicuniversal.com, spelled AKASHIC universal.com. Change your life today. Become one with your true path with intention on purpose. Visit akashicuniversal.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE. for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
Warning, if you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back. Because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-954-9674. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-954-9674. That's 1-800-954-9674. 1-800-954-9674.
My computer is so slow, it's making me crazy.
I used to have that problem.
Did you quit using the computer, or did you buy a new one?
No, I called Geeks On Site. They made an appointment to visit my home and showed up the same day.
You mean they didn't ask you to bring your computer to a shop? That's what happened when I called a support company.
Geeks On Site can go to your home or business or even repair your computer online. They have 24/7 emergency service.
If you are having problems with your PC or Mac, call Geeks On Site, 1-800-591-1682. Our friendly certified computer repair experts are available 24/7. Call now for a free diagnosis, 1-800-591-1682. Data recovery, virus removal, and maintenance for all laptops, desktops, printers, and networks. That's Geeks On Site for friendly certified computer repair experts, available 24/7 over the phone or in your home or business. Just call 1-800-591-1682. That's 1-800-591-1682, 1-800-591-1682.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
We'll go into the recognition factor, whether the people who do all this hard work have to have PR departments to get the word out. Let me give you a little PR about something right now before we get back to it, and that is, of course, the Paracast Plus. The only way you can get a commercial-free version of the Paracast and the exclusive After the Paracast podcast. Lots of goodies. Show transcripts, another video or two coming shortly. Special episodes, that book from Chris and Ray Stanford and my dog sing Chopin special offer with free ebooks from me and from Chris for long-term subscriptions. Check out plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. And we're talking about an unfortunate thing here where if someone gets good buzz, self-generated, whatever, doesn't matter about the quality of their work, they get some kind of recognition. But if they're not spending as much time out there promoting themselves as they are doing the work, Chris O'Brien, they're not heard from as often. That is just terrible.
Well, again, it's not so much the accolades from the public or the notoriety or the fame and fortune that I'm lamenting here. I'm talking about the field itself. The field itself has never made an attempt to integrate my data into your standard databases. And to me, that's criminal. It's either that or there's some sort of plot to keep a damper on information about the San Luis Valley. I can't, for the life of me, figure out what it is. To be honest, it's gotten to the point where I really don't care. And when people say, whoa, what about sightings in the San Luis Valley? I say, yeah, they're percolating along. But, what's the point of writing them down and doing all the legwork and busting my ass like I did for 10 years when nobody seems to give a squat?
Now, let me ask you a question here. It doesn't make sense to me either. But you think MUFON, supposedly mainstream UFO research organizations, have you ever asked them, hey, I got all this information here. Do you have a question?
I've given it all to them.
Okay, what did they say? Is there ever a response?
No, it's not. It hasn't been filtered into their database. No. My Black Triangle sightings I gave to Larry Hatch, and I gave to to the NIDS guys, and I gave to MUFON. It's never been collated into their data. The Black Triangle sightings, I think 60-70% of them were reported by law enforcement.
Which should be considered, high quality for sure.
You would think.
So what's going on here, Chris? This is almost criminal that all this work you've done and it's being ignored. They don't respond. They don't do anything. We really ought to bring someone here and put them on the carpet and say, here's the information. He sent it to you. If you have a question or a doubt about it, certainly express your point of view. But what's going on?
I didn't even get a thank you.
Oh, boy.
Or an acknowledgement that it was even sent. So, that's why I am not busting my butt out there in the field here in this area, the Verde Valley area, which there's quite a number of sightings that go on here, nowhere near as much as in south central Colorado, north central New Mexico. I mean, people would rather tout this place as being America's #1 hotspot. And the whole fiasco I had with the UFO Hunter show was a perfect illustration of that, which I've recited on the show here many times.
Sure. Well, I wonder here, too, if it's a not invented here kind of syndrome. I mean, if you were a state director for MUFON, they'd listen to it, but you're an outside guy. And maybe is that it? Is it an ego thing? We don't want to give recognition to outside researchers. It all comes from our people?
It was in terms of Walt Andrus, yeah. But then John Schuster took over, and he was a big fan. He was one of the first people to contact me when I first started out in '93. He was one of the first people I started sending updates to, and yet none of my information was ever included.
The way you're explaining it just now, it's hard not to think that there's literally something. It's almost being censored or deliberately stepped on because, surely with some, definitely, as you're saying, 60% the Black Triangle sightings from police officers, that should be gold dust data. But even not to even get an acknowledgement that you send, no wonder you're annoyed. I know we can't say certain words, but yeah, I'd be like,
I don't really care anymore. I haven't cared for a long time. That's why I never even bring this subject up, because it makes me sound like a whiner, Except, I spent my life savings. I put 300,000 miles on my body in 6 years, and that's not even the many times I was actually taken to sites for various reasons by other people. And that's just how many miles I put on my own truck. And, I burnt the candle at both ends and spent a lot of money attempting to get to the bottom of what was going on. And it's like, sure, I wrote some books. Sure, some people bought the books, but I didn't even make back my advance on my second book. So it's just, it's a thankless job.
All right, let's drop this kind of quite depressing state of affairs.
Yeah, there he goes, grumpy Chris again.
No. I mean the state. It's horrible just to even think about, how people are ignoring stuff like this. Here's a question I've always meant to ask you, Chris. What do you think of these prairie dragon things?
Wow, I really don't know. It seems to be some sort of dimensional form. It's almost either that or it's some weird time-based thing. Like I said, animals react to them.
There's that photo, you'll know the one I'm talking about. Standing in the road, and it definitely looks like there's something there. But I don't really know much about reports people have said kind of thing. It doesn't come up much in cryptozoology. I don't even know, I suppose, if that's really the heading it should be under. But that's the kind of stuff that really interests me.
Well, they tend to be found centered. They tend to be more concentrated around anomalies, very specific anomaly spots. The majority of the reports that I've had center around 3 spots that have everything from the ghost pioneer and a buckboard, to that spot that Rosemary and I had that up close and personal.
I was going to bring that up, yeah.
The area, the houses right around that area tend to be the ones that report these things more. That turn on the T road, the S turns out there. That first S turn is where we have had, I don't know how many, a dozen or more reports of a phantom buckboard. And one night we had, I think, 4 reports of a herd of ghost horses running alongside people's cars, and beyond the horses was a different background than what's actually there. So, it's some sort of a portal phenomenon. God, we even had trooping fairies reported at the closest house to that one spot that Rosemary and I had our little to-do. I really don't know. Like I said, they're opaque in the middle. You can't see through them in the middle, but very quickly as you go out towards the ends, they're translucent or transparent. They don't appear to have a head. They don't appear to have a tail, although there's kind of elongated appendages. They look like sea slugs or something. There's no legs. They move through the air in an undulating fashion, almost like you'd imagine something moving through water.
Like a seahorse or something, kind of bobbing mistily.
Well, no, it undulates up and down like a sine wave. Animals are able to see them and respond to them and chase after them. They tend, like I said, to be centralized around areas where we have a variety of weirdness type accounts being reported. So I'm really not sure what to make of them. Again, the word prairie dragon.
We got more to talk about things that you're not going to hear on other radio shows. With Gene, Chris, and Goggs, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails T-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of T-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Are the answers to your present and future hidden in your past? Akashic readings help you learn to unlock the answers for love, finances, weight loss, self-esteem, confusion, grief and loss, and more. Akashic email readings by Dr. Kelly Maroon, PhD, are specially priced right now. Learn more at Dr. Kelly Maroon's website, akashicuniversal.com, spelled AKASHIC universal.com. Change your life today. Become one with your true path with intention on purpose. Visit akashicuniversal.com.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman Stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 866-91-STEEL. 866-91-STEEL. 866-91-STEEL.
This is Kurt Sotheby, author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
So we have the unsung hero of UFO research, Chris O'Brien, who's been covering all this stuff for the Mysterious Valley and not getting the recognition he deserves.
You're making it sound like I'm complaining that I'm not getting recognition.
No, I am not. I am not, Chris. I'm just saying I think you should get the recognition. I'm listening to all the stuff you've done, all the hard work you've done, and I think something ought to be done.
It's the work. It's not me. You know, this whole field is a good old boys club, and if you don't toe the ETH line, you don't play by the ETH rules, you don't kowtow to the proper individuals, you're persona non grata, and I've always known that, and I don't care. You know, I don't see any reason to put my bet behind a theory that has absolutely no evidence to support it. And until there is evidence, I'm going to be looking elsewhere, because to me it's the least likely theory that is operative here. Too many different types of aliens being spotted, too many different types of ships, too many reports. You know, they're flying around daily like they live here, which is probably whatever they are. They're as much as a terrestrial form in this closed system as we are. Maybe they're dimensional, maybe they're time-based, maybe they are other tenants in the building. I don't know, but I seriously doubt anything from out there is coming here. I really do. Until we have evidence to, refute that, I'm sticking to my guns.
Yeah, and like big reptilians with red cloaks and galactic orders, and there's just a lot of it. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just like religion. There's so many flavors. There's so many fringe aspects. There's so many true believers. You just got to ignore a lot of it. I think for a lot of people, most of us go through the ETH stage, and while not dismissing it at all just now, it's just the more you find out about this subject of ufology, you just cannot explain nearly half of things just with the ETH. That's just by giving the same weight of belief or disbelief to what people are saying. And we all know that quite often people may report seeing something, but it might be a while before they would ever offer some of the other weird things that have been happening. And there's definitely a joined up picture going on, and I think it's far more widespread that people have probably, the poltergeist activity or just strange events. And I've said for a long time, I think there's kind of like, when you take somewhere like Skinwalker Ranch and all those very, very different phenomena that was reported. Well, if we kind of give equal weight to those reports, even just the ones all coming from the Sherman family, then, that's not all ETH, that's not all ghosts. Or something I've said for a long time. It's like there's some paranormal force, just maybe some universal paranormal force, and it can manifest itself in a variety of ways, be it Bigfoot, robots that talk, strange ships, ghosts, poltergeists, other strange cryptid creatures, prairie dragons, whatever. But I think probably at the root of it all, there is the same kind of thing. How it thinks, what its game is, God only knows. But yeah, I just cannot just go with ETH in terms of ufology. Although I do like to think that maybe other stars. I'd like to think somewhere in the galaxy, in the universe, that other intelligent beings have managed to get round the kind of speed of light thing, and it's because it just gives me hope to think that maybe in the future humans really will go to the stars, will have kind of friendships with completely different other races, and some humans will get to explore just ridiculously amazing places and worlds. Imagine civilizations that have been on the go for millions of years and may have colonized planets and moons and stuff. It's kind of probably for like a lot of people like myself who kind of appreciate a bit of sci-fi, to think that that could actually be going on somewhere right now out in the universe. Well, I want a part of that. And if not me, I like to think that humans will someday. And I've always said that when it comes to UFOs, I'm more interested in things like, have intelligent beings been able to create anti-gravity technology, maybe time traveling, can they break the speed of light, these kind of things. I'm far less interested in any message from Zeta Reticuli Greys going on about whatever, certainly any kind of quasi-religious messages. To me, it's not just about the tech, but it's about the fact that, the future is happening now for other beings, and it could be ours if we don't kill ourselves by a crazy man-made virus or something. But I think and it just makes if 1% of what we talk about in the Paracast, if 1% of that is true, then it makes the universe just an infinitely more interesting place than it already is, I think.
Yeah.
Part of the problem may sometimes be that people don't want complicated solutions. And what we're offering here is a set of solutions that are complicated. Because I remember one of our former co-hosts said that he had gone to a MUFON meeting near his home. And he was presenting some of his ideas, which are very much in sync with the kind of things we've been talking about in the Paracast for 10 years. And someone says to him, well, can I have the Reader's Digest version? And of course, that set him off. Because he said, it's not that easy. You can't do it. Actually, I think he reacted in a far more angry fashion.
Demonstrative?
Yes, quite. Not a way that we might do it, but the point was that maybe part of the issue here is because people want a simple answer, I'm not going to get into that realm. They'll pick a politician with ready solutions for everything, whether those solutions are real or fake. They'll pick the UFO personality who can basically reduce it to a few words. Okay, UFOs are from other planets. The government's keeping it a secret, and therefore it's a cosmic Watergate. Sorry, Stan, but I said it. All right, that's part of the problem, a big part of the problem. And it's sending out the message, and if the message isn't easy to distill into those 10 words or whatever, it doesn't come across. And that's not saying people are stupid because they can't understand multi-syllable sentences or anything. It means that they have a lot of priorities in their lives, such as the game of survival. And if you don't give them a quick answer, they move elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if someone asks why did the Second World War happen, people kind of like to say, well, it was because of the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler. But really, if you spoke to a learned historian, they would probably come out with a million different threads of how various social and political interactions were happening all over Europe and around the world and stuff, and this and da. And yeah, really, for a lot of actual things, the reasons are complicated, numerous, and linking and interdependent and whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's like my opinion of religion. It's not that religion is necessarily a bad idea, but I think some people really don't want to be troubled really deeply with the idea of, well, what happens when we die, or how did time start, or where could God have come from if he created everything? Where did he come? And some people don't really want to waste their time or their whatever intellect they have really, really trying to think about these things. It's just easier if they can just say, here, it's in this book, follow that. And then they think, that's fine, it's explained, or I don't have to think about it. And for a lot of people, I think for religion, it's just an easy way of not worrying, not really yourself thinking about these huge, huge questions. You kind of just almost like outsource it to you let someone else do the thinking or the answering on these big questions. You do it for you. And the great bit for them is, oh, hey, other people are in the same club, so it must be an okay thing to do.
This is also okay to do, folks. Going to take a brief break with Goggs Mackay, Gene Steinberg, Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best. Available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Are the answers to your present and future hidden in your past? Akashic readings help you learn to unlock the answers for love, finances, weight loss, self-esteem, confusion, grief and loss, and more. Akashic email readings by Dr. Kelly Maroon, PhD, are specially priced right now. Learn more at Dr. Kelly Maroon's website, akashicuniversal.com, spelled AKASHIC universal.com. Change your life today. Become one with your true path with intention on purpose. Visit akashicuniversal.com.
By now, you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Block-It Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockItPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockItPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockItPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Okay, the world of simple answers. I think that's part of also, guys, the reason we have a disclosure movement in the UFO field, because we assume, those who are into this, that The government knows the answers. The people in Washington, the people at the Pentagon, wherever. They know the answers. We don't have to worry about that. We just have to get them to tell us. And if they tell us, well, we're basically ceding our responsibility to investigate to them. And the other thing that always bothers me is whether that's always the case. Right now, most investigations in UFOs are just collecting case histories, with other paranormal events too. Case histories, assuming that there is some kind of answer already, and all this evidence is being collected to validate what they believe, not say, okay, let's figure out what's going on. I mean, MUFON. When does MUFON actually sit down and look at the evidence to figure out what might be happening? In fact, when do they even talk to the witness about the witness's life, about what's going on with the witness, instead of focusing on the event?
Yeah, there's not much point just them continually, just non-stop forever, just recording UFO sightings, because the people in MUFON and people who are aware of what MUFON is, like us, we don't need convincing that something's going on, and I don't even need any government to say, oh yes, well, it's kind of flying objects, UFOs are real. I do not need them to confirm it, because I think from what I found out myself, there's definitely something going on. I would be interested if any part of the government or even some private body, I would be very interested if they said, well, yes, we've actually had some kind of communication with whatever intelligence might be behind it, or yes, we do have an idea of kind of what's going on. But the disclosure thing, a la kind of Stephen Bassett and stuff, he seems to just be, I want them to admit it's real. I want them to admit it's real. Well, if they just said yes, then what would be his next question? And then if he got an answer to that question, what would come after that? I don't really see. I'm not entirely sure. Are people like Stephen Bassett, are they wanting the government to admit the existence of UFOs so that people who deny or do not believe or are not interested, so that they will be made to go, oh, it is true? Because I don't really want to rag on Stephen Bassett. I'm just using him as an example just now. But for instance, he obviously doesn't need any confirmation. I'm not entirely sure what it is he wants the government to disclose. And I know we've talked about this a lot before. It may be very fractured. There may be very few people who have access to. I think you probably said it more, Chris, actually, just that there's a good chance that even those who supposedly would know the most are even more baffled than the rest of us, because they don't have any definitive answers, and they've maybe even been exposed to even stranger ideas or possibilities that kind of don't add up. It could just be one of these things. It's like the end of the day, human beings will never, ever, ever be able to picture an object in their mind's eye in 6 dimensions or something. It's just impossible. And maybe it's just one of those things that we can never understand. We can never understand because we're just not capable, because it may involve concepts that not only could we not wrap our heads around, but we couldn't even have language to describe them. I don't know if that's the case, but it could be that weird. And certainly with what I was saying earlier about, I think a lot of paranormal phenomena, UFOs included, may have a same kind of similar source on an origin. What that is could be just as weird as thinking, well, what happened before the Big Bang? It's just almost impossible. And here's a strange one. What if the phenomenon itself can't explain itself? What if it doesn't know what's going on?
It's very interesting here. There's a movie coming out later this year, which you might have heard of, called The Arrival. And it stars Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner and other people very well known. It's not a super high budget movie, but it's about 12 spaceships that put themselves in a position around Earth. And they send Amy Adams to try to communicate with them. And the creatures are 7-legged octopus-like creatures. And apparently their language requires rethinking your approach to communication and what you're trying to convey. It sounds like a real interesting mind puzzle. I haven't seen the movie. I'm only telling you about preliminary reviews. But here's something where they're trying to look at contact with aliens as something not in our framework or based on our motivations, but as something truly alien that we have to strive to understand. Because right now, our picture of aliens is grays or blonde Venusians or whatever. We look at them as they are related to us. Well, that's the big ego thing here. If they are from other planets, other star systems, they had to have evolved as humans have. And we can't think that we might just be a happy accident or unhappy accident, that other species might have gotten there first and become advanced technologically, and we have to rethink everything just to talk to them. We can't just say hello. We have to think how they would have to be communicated with.
So I think those are great kind of ideas to explore in sci-fi, because a lot of sci-fi is just rehashing what's been done before. Well, I suppose a lot of movies are in all genres, but I do kind of relish the prospect of if it's a very kind of highbrow film that's less about lasers and invasion, stuff like that, and I often can't find the words to maybe adequately convey. I mean, I've been reading on BBC News website about, one of those scientists who thinks that or knows that trees communicate to each other and are aware of their offspring and can aid that the offspring by the kind of almost neural network of roots and what have you. And I suppose if you try to get an artificial intelligence computer, standalone one, and you drop it, it's like a MacBook or something, you drop it in a forest, how can that computer talk to those trees? That's what I'm getting at, as in it could be, I don't know about this Amy Adams film, but what if things are kind of that weird? It's not even a question of can we speak some kind of vocalizations that can be eventually translated or whatever. But what if it's just like, on the one hand, you've just got pure biology, and then on the other hand, you've got kind of pure abstract electronics and logic, and there is no interface between those two, but they are both functioning intelligences and networks. And I suppose there is a lot of scope to examine ideas like that that maybe haven't really been looked at too much in sci-fi films. I'm racking my brains trying to think of any previous kind of UFO aliens movie that's really gone down that path, that it's all about just purely of the understanding of the other, of the communication. Are there others? I mean, I'm sure probably somebody did do a movie in the 50s or something that was... Gene, you're quite good with...
I'm thinking in terms of the communication or interaction aspect, and we have to break in a second, so I'll pick it up. The movie Contact, based on the Carl Sagan novel. And that was the one where Jodie Foster is the lead player. And I'll get into that in a moment, because we've got to just take a brief break for some business here. With Goggs and Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
The award-winning Graphic Converter 10, the universal genius for photo editing apps on your Mac. Join over 1.5 million loyal users for the Swiss Army Knife app. It gives you all the features that you expect, and most important, It's easy to use. You can get it for just $39.95 from www.lemkesoft.com. That's www.lemkesoft.com. Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you could move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry my pillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to mypillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's mypillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
Kiss your credit card debt goodbye. I'm Pharmacist Keith. Dr. Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy, and myself want to show you how to achieve financial peace, creating an extra income that will last for years to come by joining Dr. Wallach's crusade, spreading his message of better health. To learn more, visit radio.recordedvideo.com. That's radio.recordedvideo.com, radio.recordedvideo.com, or call 866-257-3105 for a recorded message.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So, with Contact, which I'm sure most of our listeners have seen it, watched it on TV and the movies, whatever. Never read the book, but this is the movie version, where Jodie Foster supposedly travels to another star system with this interdimensional or space warp device, but doesn't seem to move anywhere. But she experiences meeting somebody who looks like her dead father. And that being tells her that whatever it is coming to her in that form, a form that she could accept because you couldn't accept its true form, whatever it is. And maybe as a corollary, you couldn't even communicate with it. but by it being able to manifest itself in a way she could understand, it can get its message across. So that's conveying the alien nature of a being that we couldn't even interact with on their terms.
My favorite part of that movie is actually when that kind of alien answers a question of Jodie Foster's, and he kind of says, well, in that human form of her father, well, he says, oh, well, we didn't build this network of traveling, this transportation network to go from, different star systems. It was been here for a long time. And I just love that idea that to Jodie, that alien seems so advanced to kind of send these radio signals with instructions in kind of 3D to build this machine to send her. I just thought it was great to think that, well, she's thinking, oh, they're the smartest, they're the ones out there that know what's going on. But he then says, well, somebody long before us had already reached this kind of level, and it's nice to think that that we aren't the first, and maybe there are things, places, people, beings out there who have kind of done it, evolved it, and whatever, long before we were even a single cell amoeba in the water or something. It's that was my favorite part of Contact. I thought it was a really, really good movie.
Yeah, it's a very good book too. My favorite Carl Sagan book, actually. Another one that I really liked was that played around with the interaction of what appears to be an alien life form and the human unconscious was Fantastic Planet. With the manifestation of the id that manifests as a monsters from the id. I always thought that was way ahead of its time, and may actually have some relevance. One of the things that I've been diligently working on the past few months is a series of, I've done about 30 hours of dialogue with David Perkins, who's on my short list as one of the brightest people that I know, best writer I know, definitely. And we've been doing, we've been kicking around a lot of these ideas, especially how as they relate to, the only blood-based mysterious phenomenon that it's the red-haired stepchild of the paranormal, the cattle mutilation mystery. Of course, our dialogues branch off into all kinds of areas, from quantum physics to religion, to the nature of consciousness, to the idea of the collective unconscious and spontaneous manifestations of angst, that sort of thing within the culture. Some really amazing dialogues. And what I've been toying around with the idea of going ahead and opening up the research part of this follow-up book that I'm doing, follow-up to Stalking the Herd, and inviting anyone who's interested enough to get involved in some of the theorizing and to make available these dialogues and try to get, some people thinking about the seldom thought about angles that I think are present within many of these subjects areas, and see if we can get people to ponder some of these concepts and help us out and put it open for, for some group speak, if you will, because, obviously more minds are better than one.
Yeah, and some people who maybe even have absolutely no knowledge of these kind of topics, and they can come in without any preconceptions, any kind of persuasions or whatever, and just maybe come out with really left field kind of ideas. And, why not a think tank on these things? And so like a Rand Corporation for the paranormal, because I can imagine even that a lot of serious researchers or scientists or whatever, quite often they probably know themselves that maybe sometimes you could bring a child in for something and they could just by accident almost come out with a crazy suggestion that actually has a kind of, a kernel of truth or a completely new way of looking at things. And I'm a firm believer that hallucinogenics are capable of generating these kind of original thoughts, or thoughts that don't usually come from normal thought processes of when people are kind of straight. And
no two ways about that. Speaking of David Perkins, he just sent me an article that is very intriguing. It's about a guy named Jeremy England who may be doing a one-up on Darwin. Basically, his idea is this: that under the right conditions, a random group of atoms will self-organize, unbidden, to more effectively use energy. And over time, and with just the right amount of sunlight or energy, a cluster of atoms could come remarkably close to creating life.
Whoa.
He's put out a paper, and it's now being peer reviewed and is being taken seriously. Well, this whole idea of life creating itself is not a new one, but he's looking at it from a physics and mathematical standpoint. Of course, Lyle Watson, one of my favorite authors who just died, he wrote a book called The Secret Life of Inanimate Objects, which is one of my favorite books. It is case after case after case of inanimate objects appearing to have a life of their own. Cars that start up and drive around and get chased by cops with nobody behind the wheel. There's all kinds of examples of well-documented accounts of machines and of supposedly inanimate objects.
Reminds me of some of these movies where you see, a truck suddenly starts taking on a life of its own. That's the picture of the ultimate horror film. Or maybe in this day and age, it's the autonomous vehicle that we are really working on. We're going to move along to our next segment. I should tell you, in case things get a little disjointed, we're having a few problems with Chris's connection. We're having something called packet loss, where like a momentary piece of dialogue disappears in the digital haze. We got a lot more to come with Gene and Chris and Goggs, and we are having a few Skype connection problems that are irritating, if nothing else. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Has neck, back, or shoulder pain got you down? Go to sunshine-pillows.com and get soothing comfort, support, and pain relief fast. Their microwavable heat therapy pillows and wraps treat neck and shoulder pain, reduce stress, and relax the soul. An ergonomic pillow from Sunshine Pillows supports your head and neck on long trips or when simply resting at home. Be good to yourself. Visit sunshine-pillows.com. Sunshine-pillows.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-914-6977. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-914-6977. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-914-6977. That's 1-800-914-6977.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
Attention small business owners. Want to save money on your employee health insurance plan? Learn the little-known solution that could save thousands of dollars on your health insurance benefits and save your employees money, too. Call Health Markets for a free consultation, and one of our 3,000 local agents will show you how to make healthcare reform work for you. We'll design customized solutions for your business that can lower healthcare costs for you and your employees. We'll work directly with you to determine your needs. We search thousands of health plans from over 180 health insurance companies nationwide. You'll also find out if tax credits could save you money. Best of all, the service is free of charge. See why Health Markets has enrolled Americans in more than 2 million insurance policies. You don't have to wait for open enrollment to lower your cost. Call now. Find out how much you and your employees could be saving.
Representatives are standing by to assist you. Call 800-930-5137. That's 800-930-5137. 800-930-5137.
Hello, this is John Burroughs, one of the witnesses to the Rendlesham UFO incident. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
You know, one idea occurred to me, too. I thought of this after what Kevin Randle has been doing lately, where he's been looking at old cases, re-examining the evidence and see how it holds up. And he's got a book out called Roswell for the 21st Century. And we
Another Roswell book.
Well, sure, but we're not going to talk about Roswell today, but just as the point of what he's trying to do, which is let's just take all the stuff, reconsider it, and see where it lies. But I have the thought, based on what you guys have been saying, to go further, present investigators, whoever, with all the information about the UFO mystery, at least case histories to exhibit all the characteristics we know about people's interactions, but look at it as if it's a brand new thing. There has been no history of UFO research, no theorizing, just being confronted with the entire mass of evidence anew. We don't know what's happened. It never happened before. Here it is. Forget about what anyone has said, what anyone has written. Take a look at this and decide what conclusions you come to.
Yeah, but I think anyone who's already been involved in it cannot help but be kind of, they already have opinions, and even if they're trying to look at it afresh, they can't help but already have certain preconceptions or certain ideas. So I think for this kind of idea to work, you would take all this kind of evidence, data, whatever, but get people, maybe, I don't know, some kind of reindeer herders from out of the way in Siberia. I mean, literally people who have not been exposed to any of this, and just take some intelligent ones or a cross-section of kind of people and let them look at it, because I don't think there's much point in, not to be down on Kevin Randle, but anyone who's already looked at this stuff so many times. I keep, every now and then, it seems every few months, somebody's re-looking at Roswell. I think we should just put it aside. I don't think there's much new to learn about Roswell, and there are loads of other interesting cases that we could be looked at, and Roswell just gets way too much coverage and kind of airtime. And if it happened, it is an important event, but it's quite a while ago, and the people involved are pretty much all dead. I just don't know what anyone else is going to be able to even come close to proving now that hasn't already been proved. And let's look at some other interesting ones. It's always the same cases. They may have better luck by putting the same energy and effort into looking at cases that don't get the same coverage. And as I'm saying, try to get people involved who you may have to pay them per hour to do it because it's not their thing, but really get fresh pairs of eyes on the subject.
That's the big thing right there, Goggs. They can't have the baggage of being an existing or former UFO investigator, or even someone who has been a debunker, someone who has been skeptical, somebody, scientists, researchers, who have not even considered it. Maybe they're vaguely aware of it by the nature of the fact that there's been publicity about it, but forget everything. They're not involved in the field. They can't be involved in the field. But they have to look at this as if it's brand new, they never heard of it before, and people who have no involvement whatever are the ideal people. Anyone like you or me or even Chris, we couldn't do it as much as we try, but someone out there could.
My father would be a good person. I've never heard him utter a single idea, opinion, whatever, on the paranormal. He's more interested. He's a journalist. He's more interested in current affairs or soccer or whatever. He's definitely not in the slightest bit interested in the paranormal and UFOs. And that would be the correct qualifications for somebody to take a fresh look and just put these things before him and just see what such a person's idea, like what would they kind of discard and say, well, that's obviously silly, or yeah, that kind of makes sense, this goes with this and this, and just like, don't interfere with the process, just let them go away, look at all this and see what they come back with. And, it might be interesting, just what like Chris was saying a little bit earlier on about getting these kind of totally new generated ideas, and it can't come from us, the people in the field, but there are people out there. There are loads of people out there with the intelligence or just the street smarts or whatever, just common sense. There are loads of people out there. You would have to kind of obviously make it worth their while for them to bother doing something they're not really interested in. But it would be interesting to see, do they come up with these same kind of thoughts that we do? Do they begin by going for nuts and bolts, ETH? Do they kind of quickly discard that or not even go that way because they are already initially including all the kind of high strange aspects? So to them, they wouldn't even go down certain paths that a lot of ufology has. And understandably, a lot of it historically, I suppose, a lot of people were never exposed to any of the high strange stuff. So they could only really think about, yes, it was beings from Mars or whatever, and there's been a progression. But now that there are these ideas, wide variety of ideas, I, for one, would be interested in seeing as what totally new, uninterested pair of intelligent eyes would make of this. You never know. It could be such a person who really hits on something that we haven't collectively thought of already.
Just ask your intelligent 10-year-old and they'll come up with angles and questions and observations that probably 2 generations of researchers have not even thought of. Often kids really have a laser-like ability to cut right to the heart of a matter. You're talking about cases that deserve attention. The one case that totally blows my mind that nobody is interested in, nobody, occurred January 12th, 1994. NORAD, the North American Space Command, called up the Rio Grande County Sheriff and said, our DSP spy satellite has detected a few acre-sized heat bloom at such and such coordinates in your county. Exhaust all efforts to determine what it is. Now, the coordinates that they were given was right smack on the northwestern side of Greeny Mountain, which is south of Monte Vista, Colorado. So they sent the sheriff hauled ass up there. They sent search and rescue people. They sent planes. And as they were approaching the site, NORAD called back and said, well, we got the coordinates wrong. It's 20 miles west of you. So they did a right-hand turn and headed west to the area. And in the meantime, convoys of military vehicles and temporary fencing were put up in the original coordinates area. And Army personnel was in a remote area, I might add.
So it was kind of like deliberate misdirection. They did want them to investigate it, and then they maybe, NORAD suddenly worked out what was going on, thought, right, we don't want them anywhere near it. We'll lie to them, say it's along the road. Yeah.
And so they went down, of course, and didn't find anything in the spot, the new coordinates area. Well, in the meantime, a retired pilot, Strategic Air Command, a lieutenant colonel, was driving home and witnessed what he claimed was a battalion of battleship-sized green glowing objects that went down into the area where the supposed original event happened. And he was an absolute UFO skeptic. He never believed in any of it. He had never seen anything, but this totally blew his mind to the degree that he rushed home, took out a map, and plotted the course of where these objects appeared to be going down. And, of course, they were going down right in the area where the original NORAD coordinates were located.
So much for the Ministry of Misdirection. Please check plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com to join the Paracast Plus, our premium subscription service. Chris, Gene, Goggs, you're in
Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails t-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great t-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Are the answers to your present and future hidden in your past? Akashic readings help you learn to unlock the answers for love, finances, weight loss, self-esteem, confusion, grief and loss, and more. Akashic email readings by Dr. Kelly Maroon, PhD, are specially priced right now. Learn more at Dr. Kelly Maroon's website, akashicuniversal.com, spelled AKASHIC universal.com. Change your life today. Become one with your true path with intention on purpose. Visit akashicuniversal.com.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.
Is negative content or comments on the web affecting your personal or professional reputation? Unfavorable comments, embarrassing pictures, videos, legal documents, and negative articles can ruin your personal life, your career, or your business. It happens a lot, and it's just not fair. But what can you do? ReputationDefender.com can help protect your good name. Get a free consultation now. Call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Call right now for a free expert reputation analysis. It's easy to squash the unfair attacks with our patented system, and the analysis is absolutely free. Make the best things about you jump out in searches. Protect your personal and professional reputation, your business, and your income. Get your free reputation analysis from ReputationDefender.com right now. Call 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com today.
There is an affordable alternative to the high cost of healthcare that offers freedom from insurance while providing compliance with the Obamacare individual mandate. Imagine having access to quality, affordable healthcare that allows you the freedom to choose your doctor and hospital. Members can share up to 100% of necessary medical expenses, including some alternative treatments. Find out how you and your family can contain healthcare costs without giving up your freedom. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
Hey, this is Marie D. Jones, the author of This Book is from the Future, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Let's pick up on that story from Chris about misdirection. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, the NORAD event, January 12th, 1994. So a retired fighter pilot who's flown everything that we got, bombers, jet fighters, was 35-year Air Force colonel, retired, full honors. He came forward publicly and talked, even on TV, about his sighting. What's really interesting is the entire 2-week period before this, I had 7 Bigfoot sightings. I had incredible UFO activity all around that area. South of there, slightly south, slightly east of there. During the same day, there was reports from about 30 miles away out into the valley of orange lights that were seen over the town of Capulin. And then, to make matters even more intriguing, doing follow-up calls to find out who the personnel were that actually called NORAD, I find out that there was 1, possibly 2 suspicious suicides at Cheyenne Mountain with the NORAD personnel. One was a captain, I believe, if I remember correctly, an Air Force captain. She was pregnant, 3rd trimester of pregnancy, happened to be on duty. She, I think, put a hose in her exhaust pipe, and a very strange, suspicious death. And then there was rumors of a second death of people that were on duty when the phone call was made. I mean, we're talking about a really intriguing case here. And whenever you see people touting cases, you never hear about the NORAD event, which I think is one of the most important UFO sighting events ever.
Well, I've never heard about it. I would love to know about cases like this. And can I just ask you quickly, was Ron Regehr, and did he lead you to this?
That's how I met Ron Regehr.
Yeah,
he was
okay,
one,
yeah.
He was the one that came forward and confirmed the DSP satellite data.
This is really, really, really good stuff. So I've never even read a hint of this, and I consider that I've read a fair amount about ufology and cases and whatever.
So. It's in the Mysterious Valley, at the very end of the Mysterious Valley, and it's also in Secrets of the Mysterious Valley, which is a cherry picking of my best cases.
So who else knows about this?
But, again, we have a flurry of what appears to be unrelated activity, including, 7 Bigfoot sightings in an 8-day period, which happened that first week of January. And then the next week we have the NORAD event. I mean, everybody keeps beating Roswell over the head. Roswell for the 21st century. Roswell this, Roswell that. Well, there are some really good cases out there. And unfortunately, because, I don't go around creating cults of personality and touting these cases because, I pay my bills by them and my life depends on it. These cases just get ignored.
Yeah, and compared to Roswell, the good thing about a case like this is obviously most of the witnesses would still be alive.
2 that are dead.
Well, yeah. But, and wow, I wonder, this area that was cordoned off, I wonder if anything one would see if you were to go and look at it now, or it may have just been a transitory thing, but this kind of large heat signature of acreage, this all originated from so are we saying of what's the body that does the spy satellites? I forget the name.
Well, it's the NRO, but it was it was NORAD, Space Command, that is actually doing the real-time monitoring of our DSP, at least our DSP system. I'm not privy to all that they do, but in the case of DSP, which is tasked to look for heat blooms, basically for Russian or Chinese missile launches. Yeah. At the time in '94, of course, the Cold War had gone, almost by the wayside. This was right, just 4 years after the breakup of the Soviet Union. But DSP is still up there, and it's quite a number of these satellites are routinely monitoring the planet for missile launches. And when they're on the back side of their orbit, they look for forest fires, for propane tank explosions, that sort of thing, so that they can warn local officials that they've detected something. Well, Ron Regehr said there's no question that they detected this event, and it alarmed them so much that they actually contacted the Rio Grande County Sheriff's Office in search and rescue, and put in the command, not request, to exhaust all efforts to find the source of this heat bloom. Well, you have people coming forward, in the ensuing next few days saying, well, this is what we saw going down over there. And so was it a recovery of some kind? Was there a crash there? There's some people have theorized that perhaps it was a missile launch from south of Green River, Utah, that they fire these missiles to White Sands, or from White Sands to this restricted airspace area south of I-70 there, about a third of the way across Utah. And maybe one of these missiles accidentally went down there. But it doesn't sound like it, because you have a really, highly trained lieutenant colonel and strategic air command pilot saying they saw a battalion of battleship-sized glowing green objects. That doesn't sound like a wayward missile to me.
It sounds like Independence Day.
Yeah, kind of. And I could go through and pull out, case after case after case from my work, from Ann's work, from Stan's work, from these people that are monitoring specific geographic areas, and with a wet blanket and just covering every square inch, and have a really good working network of law enforcement sources, locals, trained ex-military folks. And I think the whole approach of this looking backward constantly at buzzword cases is really, I think it's a red herring. I think we're being mesmerized into doing this to keep us from looking at the good stuff.
Definitely. And that's kind of what I was touching on earlier on. I'm very suspicious of Greer and Bassett. I actually think that they could be put in this position and given this kind of almost airtime or news time or whatever that they do get, to keep us looking in that direction. And here's another kind of semi-current thing that I think was really interesting. If anyone's ever watched any of Ted Phillips's lectures, and obviously he's the guy who specializes in landing trace cases, but he has this amazing story going back to World War II of this cave in Czechoslovakia, and a wounded soldier or something had to take refuge there, and he kind of found going deeper into this cave that's high. The entrance to this cave is high up in a mountain, and when he went deeper into this cave, he found this enormous kind of shiny, hard, black metal kind of wall that was vibrating and humming like there was some kind of machinery. And it was obvious that he was just seeing part of a much greater, larger object that was definitely not rock, mountain, whatever.
That had been there millions of years.
Yes, and because there was like something about some old bear bones or something that had been extinct for a long time, and there was also a kind of local lore story about something landing in the mountain or whatever a few hundred years back. And anyway, so Ted Phillips came into possession of this like kind of original map, and I think he probably wisely has kept some of it kind of to himself, but he talks about going back and trying to find this. And, you know, this is like right now, real, even better than Indiana Jones kind of stuff in a way. And yeah, you know, I really wish I could swear here, but forget Roswell. Let's look at these other things. There are loads, and I often bring up quite an interesting case that God, my mind's not working tonight, but Nick from the MOD, the British guy, why have I forgotten his name? Nick
Pope.
You have Nick Pope, yeah.
Let me just say something we have to break.
Yeah.
Fascinating about Nick Pope. We had him on in After the Paracast episodes a few weeks back, and boy, were people down on him. Oh, well. We've got Goggs Mackay, Gene Steinberg, Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
As a doctor, I see patients every day who are losing their vision to age-related macular degeneration, also known as AMD. If you have blurry vision or blind spots, they can be symptoms of AMD, and if untreated, could lead to blindness. The good news, AMD can be managed with effective clinically approved treatments that may reverse some vision loss. For free AMD information, contact the Foundation Fighting Blindness at 1-800-BLINDNESS. That's 1-800-BLINDNESS. There is a cure in sight.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 866-91-STEEL. 866-91-STEEL. 866-91-STEEL.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Okay, guys, final 4 segments of the Paracast, where we had hoped to have a great conversation with James Carrion about the Office of Strategic Deception, and that kind of gets a thought in my mind. We'll go into that in a moment, but he had to beg off. He'll come back. We'll probably have him on in October. We'll give him one more chance to see what happens. So we're talking shop with Goggs Mackay and Gene Steinberg and Chris O'Brien. But you wonder, you can take this anyone, whether all the attention focused on things like Roswell, we're all being directed there. Let's look at this old case from 70 years ago or 69 years ago now and not think about what else might be happening. It's the magician's trick, misdirection. And that's why we are so focused on these age-old cases, and we don't pay attention to more recent stuff where we could really get some new information.
I'll just say this one sentence. Any case that more than one president happily mentions obviously really isn't worth looking at now, because they wouldn't be drawing attention to it. So, the fact that President Obama's made jokes about Roswell, we've got Hillary Clinton, maybe a president coming, Bill Clinton. Forget Roswell. What I was going to say was just when I couldn't remember Nick Pope, but that case that he goes on about, a diamond-shaped UFO over Perthshire in Scotland, seen by a couple of hill walkers with a Harrier jump jet hovering face off with this thing, and photos were taken, of which a photocopy that Nick Pope had himself, and that photocopy that was up on his wall mysteriously disappeared. Now, I find that quite intriguing. I don't often hear about solid diamond-shaped UFOs over, the hills in Scotland with a jump jet, a vertical takeoff and landing jet facing off to it. And, this happened not that long ago. That was in the 90s. Forget Roswell. I'm going to shut up and just say forget Roswell.
Well,
Next.
Kevin Randall hopes you don't. He's got a new book out about Roswell. But the rest of us will forget the R word.
Yeah. Here's another example of MUFON just not being able to see the forest for the trees. Former Johnson Space Center NASA employee John Schuessler, who we talked about briefly earlier, early fan of my work, was also the first director to take over after Walt Andrus retired and moved the operation to Denver. He has recently released a list of the top 100 list of UFO books, and he's put his 85 in there, and then left 15 slots open for suggestions. Well, Kevin on his blog points out some pretty interesting things, that a lot of the books are from known hoaxing contactees like Adamski, Daniel Fry. One is by Carlos Allende, The Philadelphia Experiment, which, is very, very questionable material. There's 2 listings of one book, which I'm not sure what it is. Paul Kimball caught that one. It just shows you how mired in fantasy an organization like MUFON apparently is not one book by Randall in there or Stanton Friedman. God forbid he should add The Mysterious Valley in there, which I consider one of the top UFO books, not because I wrote it, but because it's filled with investigated, case after case after case that was investigated on the ground, all coming from a single geographic region. I don't see anything from Stan Gordon in there, anything from Andruffel. It just gives you an indication of how calcified and how mired past, and these big UFO groups and the media and the propaganda, the feet are sunk in concrete and they can't move. And it's really, really unfortunate that we don't have more John Greenwalds, more kids in their early 30s, late 20s that are coming up and really knuckling under and doing the hard, heavy lifting and doing the hard work. I really see this field becoming increasingly irrelevant, increasingly filled with religious belief, and it will never be taken seriously by mainstream academia and science, or the mainstream public for that matter. Just Tim Russert, the way he just ruined Dennis Kucinich's chance to be a viable candidate during the debates in 2008 when he asked him if he'd ever seen a UFO before. Just that kind of question can sink a politician. And we have
didn't
Billy
sink
Cox
Hillary.
now.
Hillary hasn't been sunk by it.
We're seeing a little bit of change.
Sure.
We're seeing a little bit of change.
But it's not because of our UFO beliefs. It's because of other factors.
Yeah, well, that's true. But also the wonderful column that Billy Cox used to write for the Herald Tribune, devoid. He now cannot write it anymore. He's been moved to another job. So one of the few mainstream journalists at a mainstream newspaper who treated the subject with the amount of respect it's due is now off the beat, and he's not releasing any more of his devoid blog posts anymore. So, unless we really concentrate on moving the field forward, coming up with a viable methodology to move the field forward, as soon as all the people in my generation and Gene's generation pass on.
And in my case, it won't be very long.
Happy birthday to you.
You're a little bit late. I didn't realize till I had my birthday that one of our listeners who was a guest on a recent Listeners Roundtable, Sue, shares a birthday with me. I'm sure she's much, much younger. But September 9th has some significance somewhere in the ether. Or maybe I need some ether.
It was the 9th of September. That day I'll always remember.
I could put a line in there because I'm the 29th of September.
But you're in another astrological sign.
Libra.
Okay, so the birthday is shared with Adam Sandler. I feel embarrassed already. And most of these people are people I never heard of before. There's a basketball player named J.R. Smith. Never heard of him at all. I don't know anything about basketball. Hugh Grant, September 9th. Movie actress Michelle Williams. Doesn't look like many famous people, unfortunately. September 9th. Oh, well.
Hey, I've got a great, you know how sometimes people's intuition about probability can often be very off. I read something, I might not have this exactly, but being that there could be 365 birthdays, how many people do you think would have to be maybe at a party or something with you? How many other people would there have to be in a room for there to be an even chance that one of them shares a birthday with you? What do you think, how many people that would need to be for there to be a 50-50 that one of those people shares a birthday with you? Have you any ideas? Any guesses?
Well, I found some more names, by the way. Colonel Sanders. All right, of course, he's dead. September 9th. Colonel Sanders. So
I always thought you were a little crispy chicken.
Leo Tolstoy, Rachel Hunter, all right? Alf Landon. I mean, people, a lot of these people are dead. Cliff Robertson, really great actor. But like I said, most of these people are dead, so it doesn't really make me feel very good. So if that's how it goes. We're talking about September 9th. No, we're not. We're just taking a brief break for something or other with Gene. And Chris and Goggs, you're in
the Paracast.
The award-winning Graphic Converter 10, the universal genius for photo editing apps on your Mac. Join over 1.5 million loyal users for the Swiss Army Knife app. It gives you all the features that you expect, and most important, it's easy to use. You can get it for just $39.95 from www.lemkesoft.com. That's www.lemkesoft.com. As you know, neighbors, web hosting can be pretty cheap, but not all hosting is the same. DreamHost wins Best of Awards year after year. You get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, and even the low-cost plans put your sites on high-performance SSDs. Want to know more about what DreamHost has to offer? Go to technightowl.com/host. Once again, that's technightowl.com/host.
Dr. Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize for discovering how cells breathe. He also discovered how normal cells turn into tumor cells. He discovered the one prime cause of cancer was cellular oxygen deficiency. Dr. Joanna Budwig built upon the work of Dr. Warburg and discovered how to feed the cells to overcome this oxygen deficiency. She found that it was the sulfur in the cottage cheese that would mix with fresh pressed flax oil, that the flax oil would become emulsified and more readily absorbed. Flax oil delivered in this manner was able to restore oxygen transfer to all cells of the body. Now there's a new method of pressing seed oils that produces the highest quality, zero oxidation, undamaged seed oils. The results on these seed oils alone are amazing. Now add our Life Force Enhanced One World Whey Protein Powder that is much higher in the sulfur amino acids than cottage cheese is, and you have a winning combination to confer health and energy like never before. Call 888-988-3325 or visit sacredseedoils.com. That's sacredseedoils.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
We're finished with the birthdays. We're finished with synchronicity? No. Don't want to push that. Don't want to push that button. So, Chris O'Brien, do you think maybe we should take ufology, rip it apart, throw it away, and find something new?
Yeah, I do. And I think Greg Bishop discussed this on one of his appearances.
Sure.
You know, just tearing it down and starting from scratch.
Well, that goes to what I was suggesting before, where you give people the opportunity to look at all the evidence without any baggage. As if ufology never existed. Major Donald Kehoe did not say we need disclosure and have that repeated for the following 60 years. None of that happened. And maybe that would have happened if Kenneth Arnold's sighting had not gotten coverage. Imagine Kenneth Arnold had his attention diverted somewhere else when those things, whatever they were, those 9 objects were up there. What if Kenneth Arnold's sighting hadn't been covered? What would have happened?
Wow. Good point. Hey, you know who was born on my birthday?
What day is
Steve
that?
McQueen.
Okay.
Tommy Hilfiger. Woo. Jim Parsons from Big Bang Theory. Peyton Manning. Let's see. Anybody else you might recognize? That's about it. Oh, famous people. Louis Anderson. There we go.
Well, I always remember being a bit younger where you maybe reading some kind of magazine or comic or something, and it may mention...
Well, Goggs was talking. I just mentioned Harry Houdini was born on my birthday.
That's cool. He's somebody worthwhile. All I was going to say is I've never really found out any other interesting people that shared my birthday. The ones that I did know about were like, terrible pop stars and from the UK or wherever. I don't know what it is about my birthday. If you're on the site, put in 29th September, see if there's anything interesting there, Gene or Chris or whoever who's looking.
All right.
Chris has the noisy keyboard, you notice. Okay, September 29th. Brie Garson, famous actress. Jerry Lee Lewis. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right.
Great Balls of Fire.
The Killer.
Andrew Dice Clay.
You're kidding.
Don't know him? Who's that?
He's a comedian here in the United States. Claypool, the bass player from Primus.
Okay.
Gene Autry.
Yeah, the cowboy guy.
Gene Autry was one of the richest people in show business.
Cowboy.
Yeah, but he also made a huge amount of money. I think he owned the California Angels, right? Trevor Howard, fairly well-known actor.
Fellow Scott, Ian McShane.
Yeah.
Is he Scottish?
Ah, you ready for this?
I thought he was English.
Stanley Kramer, September 29th.
Who's that?
Stanley Kramer?
I don't know.
Miguel de Cervantes.
He doesn't know who Stanley Kramer is. Just a minute, I'm going to leave.
Enlighten me.
Oh, come on now. Film director.
Stanley Kramer. No.
American
Stanley
film
Kubrick,
director.
I know, but not Kramer.
Yeah, he was also a film director.
Okay. What did he make?
Silvio Berlusconi.
Oh, okay, Italian president, PM, criminal. He's quite interesting. I just love how in like Italy and France, it is absolutely no big deal for politicians, leaders of countries to have mistresses or, sleep with prostitutes and stuff. It's just, they don't really see that as a big deal as long as they do their job okay. But certainly in the UK, oh, no. You don't want to be PM and or a minister and get caught having an affair. That always calls for a resignation.
All right, Stanley Kramer, let me just throw this at you, okay? Because you really should know this, okay? Films he did. The Wild One. High Noon. Okay? Death of a Salesman. The Defiant Ones. On the Beach. Inherit the Wind. Judgment at Nuremberg. It's a mad, 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 mad world. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Yeah, I mean, I know many of those films, but I mean, they're when did he die, or is he dead? I presume he is.
Yeah, well, we did the films back in the 1950s. He died, I am taking a look here, in 2001.
All right, so not too long ago. Yeah, I mean, no, it's not a name that springs to mind, but I suppose there are many movies I'm aware of, and I wouldn't, it seems to be a bit like with, pop stars or something. Some movie directors just become more famous than others. It's always the kind of work that speaks more than a kind of cult of personality about them themselves. But no, that's funny, and I'm sure his name has entered my head sometime in the past, but it's not one that jumps out at me. I mean, that's movies from the 50s. It's kind of I mean, I don't mind watching old movies. There are loads of movies made since the start of movie making that are great and worthwhile watching, but I wouldn't tend to know directors from back then, I suppose, apart from a few.
My brother was born March 13th, and he died like in the early 90s. And I can't think of anyone, I'm looking at the names, born on that date who was really famous. I mean, there are people there. Oh, Adam Clayton from U2.
Okay.
And I'm looking at other names, and I don't recognize them. They're figures of history, but I don't recognize any of them. In fact, so many of them have no photo. They're so insignificant, there's no photo, there's no drawing. So my late brother, Wally Steinberg, was born on a day where it wasn't that significant. No, what's going to happen now is every single listener to the Paracast, born on March 13th, or has a family member or close friend, they were right, and they will yell, scream at us.
Well, if we're talking about birthdays, and you mentioned briefly star signs there earlier, I do not believe in horoscopes at all, but I do think the whole idea of the zodiac and the division of 12, us having 12 months, there are, if you really look into it, there is quite a lot of occult stuff to do with this division of 12, and so I don't think, your average, rag mag person who does horoscopes, I just think they just regenerate and regurgitate things that are vague enough for anyone to fit to their day or their month.
I agree, but the only 12 we have is 12 segments of every episode of the Paracast. This is number 10, coming up number 11 with Goggs, Gene, and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
ProPure water filters, making water great again. Taste and feel the difference with state-of-the-art filter technology. Pro 1 G2.0 and Pro Max filters are independent lab-tested to NSF standards. Choose from gravity, countertop, pitcher, shower, and inline filtration products. There's a ProPure for you. Buy risk-free today. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Hi, this is Sophie Winnick, longtime distributor and user of Longevity products. In the last few years, my family went through a crisis. Everything else in my life, including my business, had to be put on the back burner. Thankfully, life is getting back to normal now. But the one thing I never had to worry about was my business and my monthly commission. I've been a distributor for Longevity for over 17 years, since before it was Longevity. And I've got to say, the most amazing thing about this company is the people. While my family was in crisis, other distributors stepped in and helped my customers, simply because that's what Longevity people do, even for people they don't know. For me, it has never been about getting rich. It was about a product I could stand behind, a company I could count on, and a monthly commission check that has never, not once, been late in 17 years. Longevity is truly a business for everyone, even people who have too much to do. I'm Sophie Winnick. I'm just like you. I have a real life, real ups and downs, but I know I will always have Longevity.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Injury Help Desk is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention prescription antibiotic drug users. Have you or a loved one suffered an aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm after taking the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avelox? These popular antibiotic drugs have been prescribed more than 80 million times since 2004, and medical studies show an increased risk of the following injuries: aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, and abdominal aortic aneurysm. If you or a loved one used the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avelox and suffered from aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. You may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply, or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now, earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
So I wonder why we have 12 segments on the Paracast every week.
There you go, exactly. And what I was just going to say was that whilst I don't believe in horoscopes, I wonder maybe do the position of the planets, maybe something to do with the lining up of gravitational forces. Could it have any effect on how we turn out in life with the old nature versus nurture thing? So forget horoscopes, but could your time and the year you were born, because in some cultures they will do whole, not just like monthly horoscopes, but maybe some of the Buddhists or whatever, when you tell them when and where you were born and what year, they will kind of write these whole huge things about your life and maybe what you may have been in a former life, and who knows if there's anything to it. But that kind of stuff I find kind of interesting, and the whole idea of 12. But I don't know enough about it to kind of speak eloquently or really come out with some great ideas. But there's something there for sure.
I like the Chinese horoscopes with the different animals.
Yeah.
I was born in the year of the rooster.
I don't know what the year of my... I think I did see one time, and I don't know if it was monkey or oxen or something.
Wait a minute. You were born in the year of the rooster, right, Chris?
Yep.
It's a 12-year cycle. So was I.
Oh, no wonder.
I don't know what to say about that. That must be a curse or something that happened.
Yeah. So you're 12 years older than me.
That's right.
What year were you born, Goggs?
I was born in 1973, which I know was a great paranormal year for UFO flaps and what have you. I believe it was, and it was also a year where Gong put out a great album.
It's the Ox. It's the Ox.
There you go. That was one of the ones I said. Yeah. So what else?
That was the year Dark Side of the Moon came out.
Exactly. Yeah. Good one. Yeah. I've always said I wished, I would quite happily have been born 10 years earlier. I was never actually that bothered that I didn't experience the 60s, but the 70s, I think, even though I was obviously alive then, I just think the 70s were a great decade, and I think that's because I really like a lot of the music from then. And it was just kind of, the 70s was really kind of like the last decade of mostly analog and before computers were everywhere and in schools and kind of stuff. And I don't know, I'm just quite nostalgic about the 70s, and I think it had a lot to offer. I like TV shows from the 70s. You know, I like Hill Street Blues. I like lots of American shows, British shows, movies from them, The Exorcist, whatever. I just think the 70s were a great decade. Now, I'm not arguing for a second that it was a more amazing, changing, whatever decade compared to the 60s, but just personally, because of when I was born and the music I was into, it was a decade I wish I could have experienced just a little bit older.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a very silly question here, because it just occurred to me as we talk about our best years. Because I thought, gee, if I had to go back through time and I could relive a year or just go back there and maybe change a few things, what year would I go back to? And I would think probably 1974 or 1975, because a lot of things, which I won't mention here, happened to me. Chris, if you had a chance to go back, relive a year, just go back and maybe try to make a few changes, what year would you go back to?
1993. I wouldn't have gotten involved in all this ufological stuff.
Ha ha ha. Goggs.
A year to go back to. I've often said to my kind of friends and circle of people that as much as some things in adulthood are great, and a lot of people look back with rose-tinted glasses to their childhood and stuff, I liked the age of around, say, 12, 13 or so, because you were starting to know a lot more than just being an innocent child, but you weren't yet old enough really to have any responsibilities or anything too much to worry about, and you just never had to plan for anything. At that time, still, your parents kind of took care of a lot of things, but you could just go out and have fun. I mean, at that age, I worry about kids these days because they're always looking at a smartphone, or they're inside playing online games and getting a bit overweight, or maybe not all getting as much exercise as maybe we did. But back at that age, we were making death slides and rope swings, over rivers, and just, going out. And today I drove past a school, and I know it's different setup in America when it comes to, like, say, driving. You can't really live in LA easily without driving. But when I was at primary school, nobody got driven to school, to and from school. But I sometimes drive past primary schools now, and the whole street is chock-a-block with mums or dads or whatever sitting there waiting to pick up their kids. And I kind of wonder, they're probably not that far away, and people are so scared now to kind of let 8-year-olds or even a group of them walk to school and back. And the world is not more dangerous now, I don't think. And, there was campaigns in the 80s and 90s here about, stranger danger and stuff like that. Really, the danger to kids is far more likely to come from a family member or somebody that they know, not some dodgy man hanging outside the school gates. And I don't really remember any bad things happening to any of my contemporaries, and we used to walk a mile to school and a mile back, any weather, any level of darkness due to winter or whatever. And now it just seems that people are so kind of their cotton wool wrapped around them. It may be the influence, the media that kind of, I understand, I'm not a parent, but I can understand parents just worrying about their kids and obviously wanting to keep them safe and wanting to do the best for them. But I just wonder if some kids these days, they're a bit smothered and just not allowed to run free as much. And I'm just glad, going back to the 70s, I'm glad I was born a decade when we did kind of run free. And I would not want to be born today. So I think some of the things that we got up to when I was in secondary school, high school, and it would be really worrying to me now to, think back all those years, and to think that almost anyone that could have been around could be filming what you were doing or recording it on the internet, and it would be there forever. I think that's a horrible thing for today's youth when they're going through the period of making mistakes and stuff. It's great that nobody's got a time machine to go back and see what I may have did wrong or what naughty things we may have got up to or whatever. And I really feel for today's kids where you've got to be on social media, and there are far more. Just around me in Aberdeen, the gym membership has rocketed in young men, and they're all going to tanning salons, and they're all really worried about their bodies. They don't look buff enough, and nobody thought like that really back in the 70s, and that's why I keep going back to it. I think it was a decade when, I'm not saying it was anything about any kind of lost innocence, but it seemed to be just the last decade before the nanny state really started to creep in, and things like health and safety at work, when it gets a bit ridiculous, the kettles that say caution may contain hot water. There's just no need for those things.
Like that. Caution may contain hot water. Caution may be abrasive. Caution, we're going to break. With Goggs Mackay, Gene Steinberg, Chris O'Brien, you're in.
The nanny state. No, sorry, the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails t-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size for incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency. Get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
Are the answers to your present and future hidden in your past? Akashic Readings help you learn to unlock the answers for love, finances, weight loss, self-esteem, confusion, grief and loss, and more. Akashic Email Readings by Dr. Kelly Maroon, PhD, are specially priced right now. Learn more at Dr. Kelly Maroon's website, AkashicUniversal.com, spelled AKASHIC Universal.com. Change your life today. Become one with your true path with intention on purpose. Visit AkashicUniversal.com.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Block-It Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockItPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockItPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockItPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to paranormaldate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
You haven't experienced yogurt until you've tried a Mossy, embodying health and flavor in a true whole milk, green-fed dairy beverage. Every sip pays homage to our old world cows and the ancient culturing methods their milk benefits from. With over 30 probiotics, a Mossy's undeniably nutritious, refined, cultured sensation bolsters your health and awakens your passion for dairy. A Mossy's so good, and you need to try it. Contact your Longevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
Hi, it's Grant Cameron from presidentialufo.com. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Very interesting here. When I was 6 or 7 years old, my mom never objected to me walking to school, and she was a pretty protective kind of person. But we never thought of it then. You know, that was it. It wasn't on the agenda. It's become a dangerous place, even as crime has gone down. I mean, people talk about high crime rates, but actually, except for some increases this year in the U.S., crime is down over what it was 30, 40, 50 years ago, way down, but we all feel less safe. And part of that is just the culture, that everything is being watched. There is no freedom. Big Brother is there. We laughed about Big Brother in 1984, but Big Brother's there right now. In fact, if you're a politician, forget about it. You can't as much as sneeze before they'll analyze every sneeze, every breath, every mistake, every error in your tone. If you say one thing wrong, one sentence, one word, they will analyze you to death for the next 6 weeks. I mean, that's something we've lost. We have no privacy. We have no freedom.
Yeah, if you're a celebrity or a politician, you might as well go about your life as if you are constantly being filmed and people are taking a note of everything you say and what you do. And to try and kind of be on your guard like that all the time must be just so exhausting. And it's not a good thing. It's part of modern society that I don't particularly like. I'm not too worried about surveillance because I'm not getting up to anything that I'm worried about being seen. But just the fact that you know things are not so easily forgotten or left in the past now, because there are so many ways. I don't just mean images, but there are so many ways that information and what have you is recorded almost like, you know, forever now. You know, if the three of us were 10, 12, 15 years old now, what goes through the minds of a 10, 12-year-old, 15-year-old and what they might say off the cuff and write on the internet? There's no way that 90% of that stuff you would want somebody reading 20 years later, but it's going to be there. And it really worries me hearing that when people go for job interviews that, you know, companies are looking at people's Facebook pages and seeing what they say and stuff like that. I don't think prospective employers should be doing that unless they're literally given a solid reason to have concern about a candidate or something. But can you imagine going for your first job interview after come out of college or whatever, 20, 21 years old, everything's going great at your first interview, and then they say, so why did you write this about the war in Syria back in 2015 or whatever? You don't even remember posting that, or somebody was doing some drunk texting or posting, and it's there and somebody can dig it up. So it's worrying.
You know what? That reminds me, just very recently, I moved, as a lot of our listeners know, and I had almost landed a very nice house, inexpensive, everything, beautiful neighborhood. And then the prospective landlord looked online and saw somebody criticize me for something. And unfortunately, when you're in the public eye, when you host a radio show or whatever, some people like you, some people hate you, some people don't care. Well, somebody who hated me said something that was obviously untrue and ridiculous, but she saw it and said, you know what is this all about? And starts giving me the third degree.
Perfect example, Gene. Perfect example.
Exactly. This is preposterous.
That's why I stopped using Facebook several years ago. I did like it for a while, and I started to even admit to myself, I was, hey, I'm checking my feed in the morning before I go to work. And I thought, am I kind of getting, in a way, addicted to this? And then when you started to hear in the news, it was filtering through that, people's pasts were being churned up and things they'd maybe forgotten about or they wish they hadn't said, and we all have. But they can be used against you in perpetuity now. And I'm so glad that I got through the difficult transition of adolescence without any of that. And I really do feel for kids in the Western world now, and for a lot of world. I think they've got a tough time, and it's very worrying, especially I really feel for guys as well, but for young girls, they've just got such unrealistic expectations and self-body image. They just can't convince themselves about how even models are totally photoshopped and changed shape of it and whatever. And, a model is not the average person. It's a horrible start in life to kind of hate yourself because you don't look like such and such a person on the cover of a magazine. And there's always been models and stuff like that, but it's never been so in your face all the time. I just think kids have got a tough time, young adults have got a tough time just now. I hope the culture kind of starts to move away from this social media saturation and Tinder and, just Instagram and just all this. And another thing that kind of annoys me about it all is in the Facebook days, I read a post for a guy I worked with, and it said, sitting here in the waiting room at the dentist. And I thought, prior to Facebook, would you have gone out to a call box, a telephone box, and rang up all your friends to say, yeah, hey, I'm sitting in the dentist's waiting room? It's like people are telling each other the most inane rubbish, taking photos of the dinner they're having at lunch and say, oh, look what I'm eating. And
you see, that's how they get very rich. Mark Zuckerberg and other people have enabled people to take the most unimportant things in their lives, give them self-importance. Oh, look, I'm on Facebook. I have followers. People are following me. I will follow them. Sounds like an old song. I will follow. Forget it. People are following me. Isn't it just wonderful? I am now important. I can do a selfie. They modifying current mobile devices to take good pictures, selfies, like the latest iPhone from Apple has a higher resolution camera in the front for a selfie or for voice or video chatting. We're so into ourselves that we don't see what's going on around us. And then, of course, what that also means is that we're very polarized. We're all in these tiny little clubs. And we exist in these clubs, and we have media serving that club because they make money from it. We have this self-reinforcing bubble system, and I don't think anybody, unless they pay a lot of attention, unless they're really careful, can escape it. And that's also a way for people to control you, by the way, because they know you exist in a bubble. They take advantage of what you are, what you expect, what you fear, and they can do all sorts of nasty things to you.
That is a problem with social media. If you start winnowing out points of view that don't agree with yours, then what you end up doing is creating an echo chamber, and you get a very distorted view of your reality. That's why it's important always to be open to dissenting opinions and people who might look at subjects and agendas and stuff differently than you. It's always important to get a well-rounded context when you're going through your everyday life. And social media doesn't promote that. It promotes the opposite.
It's just self-congratulation. That's how they make their money, with the targeted ads. And you are the product. Remember, on Facebook, you're not paying for it. How does Facebook make billions of dollars a year? They're selling you. How does Google make billions of dollars a year? They are selling you. You are the product. Off my soapbox. You can find the Paracast on Twitter. Speaking of social media, Go look for the Paracast. We are on Facebook. We're so dedicated to the task that we have a Facebook group and community called the Paracast. All right? Just think about that. I have another radio show called the Tech Night Owl Live, where we'll be talking, of course, about the launch of the iPhone 7 and other issues with a lack of a headphone jack. Does anyone even care about such things anymore? And we also have another thing that's just so important, we can't stop telling you about it. It's called the Paracast Plus, where we offer you a commercial-free version of this radio show. We offer you the After the Paracast podcast. We offer you special classic episodes commercial-free. We offer you show transcripts, more videos coming, excerpts from the book, and my dog sings Chopin from Chris O'Brien and Ray Stanford. I mean, we offer you all sorts of goodies for a low, cheap subscription rate, monthly, annual, 5 years, or lifetime. For more information, go to plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. With Gene, Chris, and Goggs, you're in
the Paracast.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.